I mean, if it wasn't for Zion's Crossroads, there'd be a lot of people who just couldn't make it here. But anyway, I was thinking about all the things that have happened to me in Charlottesville, and if it hadn't been for Charlottesville, I tell you what, I don't know that I would have had a speaking career. It was in Newcomb Hall. How many of you have been in Newcomb Hall? That's where GRI used to be. That was the kingdom of GRI. And there was an instructor there, a person like I had never seen before. His name was David Stone. Do any of you remember him? Yeah, Sue Blascon's the only person as old as I am. She remembers him. She didn't want to raise her hand, but anyway, David Stone was a California guy. And you know, all I knew is that on the puzzle, California was yellow, but I never met anybody in there. So he gets up to start speaking, and he was kind of a short, portly fellow. And it was like the podium was speaking. You couldn't see him. He would step out from behind it, but he had on a white leisure suit, a salmon-colored shirt, an open collar, a big sunburst, gold medallion, white shoes, and black soles. Prototype real estate agent in 1972. Shortly thereafter, I had a leisure suit, but I didn't have a hairy chest, so I just had the gold sunburst medallion, open collar, white shoes, black soles, and all of that. But he talked about something that we were not familiar with. He talked about MLS. And he explained that it was one of those situations where everybody put their listings in a book, and everybody in the association could sell them. Well, I was from Hopewell, and we went to Southside Association of Realtors, and I joined the realtor organization so I could go to GRI. And nobody shared their listings. I mean, for the first 2 years I was in business, no co-broks. It was just a known fact. If you got all of the commission, you made more money than if you gave it to somebody, with me. So we didn't have signs or co-broks. And if people call and want to show the listings, we had the perfect excuse, we just don't have the key. So if you had the key in your pocket, nobody could show your listings. So that's the way it worked. But anyway, so when we went to MLS, it was a dogfight. I mean, there was literally a fight at the Board of Realtors luncheon over getting an MLS. And they had a sign in front of the room that said, for MLS on this side, anti-MLS on this side, and here were millionaires laying in the floor, slugging it out to have MLS. So that was the 70s. And then in the 80s, how many of you were selling real estate in the 80s? Oh. Some miracles happened in the 80s. The first miracle was 20% interest rate, which I'd love to tell you a story about selling a house with a 20% interest rate. It's not possible. I did not. Sold a lot at 15 and 16%, but not at 20. And it was a real problem. And here was the problem. Did any of you remember having an interest rate book where you looked in the book to determine what the house payment was? I still have a Lomas and Elton book on my desk. And it was a problem. The interest rate was 13%, and the book only went to 9%. So, I mean, the only way you could have an interest rate calculator was take it to the savings and loan. And they had a machine that was as big as a microwave oven. And you would say, Doris, here's what I want you to do. Tell me what the payment would be at $20,000, 13.5% interest. And it was an event to get the payment because the machine made all kind of noise. It clicked and something moved across the top of it. And then a little piece of paper came out. And while you were there, you'd just get 4 or 5 different payment schedules done. So then the miracle, and we finally quit doing that. And the reason was because we realized that the only person that knew an accurate monthly payment was at the bank. So the way we did it, if it was 13% interest, we calculated it at 9, calculated it at 4, and added the two together. You with me? It was not accurate, but who could prove you wrong? I mean, so when they would go to closing, they would be either disappointed or surprised or happy that the payment was less. But anyway, then we had something that happened. I was the chairman of the education committee for the Richmond Association, and I was teaching a CRS class in Burlington, Vermont. The guy comes up to me at the first break and he said, have you ever heard of a Texas Instrument Business Analyst 2 calculator? How many of you ever had one of those? I said, no, what does it do? He said, it's a calculator, it's a handheld calculator that you can calculate monthly payments with. I said, so, I'm not going to have one. He said, would you like to have lunch? And I'll show you one. So we had lunch and he showed me one and I said, so it's bound to be some reason you asked me that. He said, well, I'll teach a class on those. I said, how much do you charge? And it was something like $1,000 a day. And he said, I bring calculators for everybody. And he did. He brought them in a big bushel basket. Everybody got a calculator. And he showed people how to calculate monthly payments. There were people who stayed an hour after that class, could not get over the fact that it would actually work. And you know what? There were people who got out of real estate because of it. Because I heard people say, if it comes down to having to learn how to use this DAMN machine, I'm getting out. And a lot of them got out. And then after that, Bill Gates did his thing, and we had the greatest invention on earth. We had the invention called DOS. How many of you remember the computer programs that had DOS on them? You know, I didn't find out about this until later. Up until 1985, when they really became a household thing, there was never any evidence that there was one word of profanity spoken in this world. And after they invented that program, there was never any evidence that everybody didn't say something bad about that program. But the computers came along in the 80s, which caused a huge transition, by the way. That market was different from this market in that the prices were not going down. The prices were not going down. The prices were static for 10 years. We learned in the 80s that a house was a place for you to raise your family and to live in. It was not the investment to retire off of. We paid the price for that between 2001 and 2006. So in the 80s, you could sell your house. You may have to write a check to pay the commission, but you could sell your house. If you stayed in it 2 years, you could break even on the house. So that was the 80s. And then we went through the 90s where Al Gore invented the internet and everything got really good. And now we have an internet that has caused us some problems, but it's going to be the future as far as where we're concerned, as far as marketing and those sort of things. And that brings us to today. Never would I have ever believed in my wildest dream that we would see this market. I never knew anybody when I was going to school that lost their home. I never walked in a foreclosed house. The only foreclosure I ever dealt with, a bank hired me to go buy a property at foreclosure that some person had done some sinister thing and had gone to prison or whatever, or died without a will with no heirs, and I bought this property. They gave me unlimited authority to spend as much money as I wanted to spend, and they give me 6% of everything. So I was encouraging people to keep bidding, you know, so 6% of more. But anyway, that was the only one I ever saw. And now every street almost has a foreclosure. The numbers of foreclosures are getting bigger. The numbers of people who are in trouble is growing. And is this going to solve this problem? I don't know. But you know, if you've been in this business a day, or if you've been in this business a month or a year, you and I don't control what the business is. What we control is how we're going to do this business. But there are two situations that we're dealing with. One is we're dealing with a market that's not as hot as it was. And when it was hot, it was really hot. It was the seller's market unprecedented. In my career, from 1972 to 2010, I've had 13 years of a seller's market. And most of them were in the 90s. There were a few years in the 70s, but for the most part, it has been a buyer's market, which meant the prices were not going up as fast and there were more houses on the market for sale than there were people to buy them. So going into this market is not something new in real estate. What is new is a customer like we have never seen before. I mean, think about it. 90% of the people who bought houses in the 90s, in 2009, started to search on the internet. I mean, 90% of them. It went up 35% in 3 years. So we went from a